Hi, I'm Courtney. If you have troubles drawing animals, then this is the right tutorial for you. I'm going to walk you through step by step breaking down an animal into simple shapes that anyone can draw. Then we're going to use a bunch of mixed media techniques to really bring out that depth and texture to get that really fluffy fur. So I hope you stick around to the end to see all the magic that we're going to make in this cozy bear. Let's start off with supplies. We're going to be using this Fabriano watercolor paper. This is hot press and it's an 8x10. I love this paper because it's super smooth, but can handle all the different mediums we're going to put on it for all the different layers we're going to do. For the rest of our supplies, we're going to be using brush pens, Neocolor 2s, and a variety of colored pencils. Don't worry, everything will be linked in the description below. So before we dive into the sketching, I just want to sort of show how easy bears and other animals are to draw. Everything in this world is shapes. You can see that I've done this several times, and that's because I've re-recorded this multiple times. Anywho, so the cool thing about bears is they are just circles and squares and triangles. So there's your circle. The noses are a little different, and we'll get into that. But this is super rough. But if you want, circle for his booty, triangles for their legs, boxes for their feet, little squares, rectangles. If you want to make this even easier, we can switch on over to Procreate. You're going to import our bear cub, which is linked below, and then you're going to lower the opacity. You grab a monoline brush. I like the Pigeon Letters one because it's pretty simple. And then on a new layer, we're just going to start building our bear. Too big, but that's okay. Triangle foot, triangle foot. Let's look at our other triangles. So we've got one triangle foot here, leg. I'll get it yet. And we've got our little ears. Ears are circles. And then his booty is a big circle. Right? Fill her in. Or a square. It comes slightly lower than that top ear. Let's zoom in to his snout and nose. So their noses are just trapezoids. You just have to kind of zoom in and take a look. 2 straight lines and then 2 parallel lines to create the top and the bottom of the nose. The top line is right between the eyes. Just connect them. Now for the rest of the snout, we're going to create more trapezoids. It looks kind of like a triangle, but it's not. Don't forget that little down part. Finally, his nose is a parallelogram. Now that we've got that done, we can clearly see the shapes and we're almost ready to start sketching. Another little trick that I like to do is to take a blue highlighter and highlight any of the shadows on our reference photo. This really sort of makes them darker and really helps me visualize where I need to put down the darker layers of our base color. You'll see what I mean in a second, but I like to do this just to give us a little edge. Okay, it's time to finally start sketching. Grab that Ecoline 439 and we're just going to put down those darkened shapes. This is a trust the process situation, okay? Don't freak out. We're doing it. Okay, so we got our bear here. And then he comes in here. Don't worry if it's messy, right? This is not the end. See, I screwed up already. That's okay, because we can fix that with color. Yay, color. Because I just realized I brought my extra bear's leg in too deep here. I mean, it's back back leg in. Funny. Swoopy butt. Swoopy butt. We're just coloring in our squares. Just any other dark spots. And these are layerable, so if you want, you can go in with more. I'm gonna use the 990 for the top part here. One thing that's really hard for me is leaving lightness. I am, like I said, not a light drawer artist. I like a very dark, art, I suppose is the right word. One thing I don't like about the Tombos as much is that they layer almost immediately, whereas the Eco lines are much more, oops, almost forgiving. Here's the rest of that circle, right? It came up a little bit high here, but you know what? That's okay. You're just going to fill in that whole area with some of the lighter color. And don't worry if it overlaps the dark color. We want it to blend anyways. All done. Just kidding. We're going to let this dry a little bit. One thing I don't like about this paper is that it does buckle, so sometimes you do need to tape it down. Another thing that I like to do is to take my kneaded eraser and use it as like sticky tack. Beep. All right, there we go. So now it's not going to buckle as much. That seems pretty dry, and honestly, if it feels cool, it's still wet. Now we're going to add some shading to our base layer, and we're actually going to use this. So the opposite of brown on the color wheel is, brown's really a dark orange, so blue of all things. So for these really dark shadows right here, like right here, I'm going to go in very gently. So the cool thing about these crayons is that, that's not dry at all, is that once they are wetted? By wetted, I mean once you get them wet. You can use a water brush or just a regular watercolor brush and blend them out just like you're doing with regular paint. It's incredible and incredibly useful. Plus, once it's completely dry, you can layer on top of them again with either more neocolors or colored pencils or another medium. It's pretty cool. All I'm doing is going in where I can see the deepest shadows start. We're gonna blend these out, so don't get scared. What I want to do is sort of blend this together. See, what did I just say? We're going to blend this together. Yeah, see, I'm simply softening the edges between our two water markers that we put down earlier. I always want to do darks on the outside, and it's never right. Don't be precise about this, right? It's not the end of the world. In this layer, we're using this sort of ochre brown to give us more depth. That's the great thing about these neocolors. We're going to add a lot of texture and depth. Just a little bit more shading because I can't leave well enough alone. Plus, that back inside leg is actually really dark, and we need to really make sure that we can tell where it is in perspective. Now we're going to go in with a plain old white neocolor and add some highlights. This is where the sun hits, where our bear is shiny and bright, and this will really give us, again, more depth and texture as we add more and more layers. It also helps with any mistakes you have made. This is also a good way to add definition between two areas on your drawing to really help with your perspective. And like I said earlier, I'm really bad about leaving blank areas to create that white space, so you can cheat a little bit with the white Neil color. Okay, it's story time. I found this amazing water brush by Caran d'Ache in this cute little store in downtown Vancouver, Canada. But it's not really a brush. It is like a water brush, but the tip is like a marker. It's incredible. It's perfect for blending together your Neo colors. You can really control the amount of water that you use, and it gives you this beautiful soft blend without any brush strokes. Another cool thing I like to do is to take these miniature wipes that I always have because I'm a mom, and that's how I clean off the tip of them, so that I don't have to dunk them in water or take them out and rinse them out. Just clean them off with these amazing little wipes. We put down a lot of Neo color to give us our highlights and shadows. So don't forget to take some time and really get in there and blend them out so they're nice, soft, but still gives us that depth that we're looking for. You can also use this brush to not only blend, but push the color around a little bit to get it right into the spots that you want. One thing I should mention is that because we're using water on top of two water-based markers, your bottom base color is going to blend a little bit more. It's okay. It gives us a smoother transition between the two colors. That's also why putting that ochre Neo color down will really help this process as well. Blendy blend, blendy blend. So we've let our little guy dry here. And now we get to do the fun part. I think it's the fun part. Something I want you to remember is that you need to go light to dark with your colored pencils. Ask me how I know. Once you've laid down a really dark color, it's nearly impossible without some sort of solvent to go back in with a lighter color of colored pencil. The waxes in the pencils don't really allow you to do that. The best part about how I color is you don't have to be precise. We're going in to add texture and detail and depth by using lots of different colors within the bear. I'm not pressing too hard, which is really difficult for me. I'm using strokes in the same direction as the natural fur of the bear, and I'm keeping my strokes not even. They are short, they are long. That gives us, again, more texture. Short little strokes right along the butt fur. We really want to make sure those are all blended together and going, again, in the same direction that it would occur naturally on our bear. Our reference photo is perfect right now. Take a look and you can see all that texture on the bear's fur, and we're really focusing on that light taupey area at the top, but you also know that that fur is the same all the way down. We just haven't added the shadows yet. I'm not coloring in the lines. I like to go out of our base shapes to give a better feeling of that fur that we've created. On the top of his head, make sure you're using short, almost rounded strokes to give that feeling of fur and dimension and the shape of the bear's head. I am doing a bit of outlining here, and I honestly don't know why, but I did it. I think that's one of the great things about being an artist, is we get to make choices. It's called artistic license, and I am very grateful for it. It's time to add a midtone. We're going in with this sort of orangey polychromos color to add more depth. I swear I've said depth and texture 14 times in this video so far, but you just want to stay with the same strokes and direction of the fur and just keep building. Trust me. I'm really using this color to transition between our top color and our bottom color again to make it even smoother and less definitive. Go quick. Don't think too much. Just go. Yep, that's a warm gray. I'm using this to define between our legs. That doesn't sound right. And to make sure that we have a good shadow transition. I use the color pencil on his head instead of the neo color because when we're trying to get a darker color but make sure that our texture stays in a small space, it's really hard to use those neo colors for that. Okay, it's FaceTime, and I know this can be intimidating, but trust me. Remember, his nose is just square, that's a little round on the edges, and where his nose comes across his snout, that's where you put down his eyeballs. I just like little dots. I'm simple. Once again, using that warm gray, we're going to define the bottom of his snout a little bit. I'm going back in with my indigo because I don't like to use straight black and filling in his nose and deepening his eyes a little bit. Make sure your pencil's really sharp. I know we've been using straight strokes up until this point, but sometimes you have to use small circular motions to really help blend those edges out. Had to go in with this creamy color to sort of define the bear's chin. He needed a little bit of a lift, an implant, if you will, and make sure that that is a really pronounced area. Okay, now I'm going to take the luminance number 69, and it is burnt sienna. So this looks like it's red, and it is. It definitely has some warm red, not even orange, but more red tones of brown. You probably have seen that little swatch card I have in the upper right hand corner. Before I do any coloring, I always take the same type of paper that I'm using, in this case hot press watercolor paper, and swatch any potential colors I'm using, both in our base colors, in neo colors, and in my colored pencils. This is a really good reference throughout the coloring process so I can see what colors work and will not work without having to go in and ruin our drawing. Because I see this color on our swatch card, I knew that it was going to give us that next layer of color that I really wanted to darken the bear throughout without throwing off the warmth or tone of our bear. I'm using that same color here to define his booty. That portion of him is a little bit darker, as we noted when we were doing our highlighter, and up until this point, we hadn't really addressed that. by adding this color throughout and on top of all of our other colors, it's bringing in a lot of more harmony to our drawing as well. Wait, what's this? Yes, I went back in with Neocolors. I really wanted to use them to smooth these transitions. The difference is this time we're not going to be wetting them. We're simply using them as crayons. They work fantastic on top of the colored pencils to smooth out any rough edges. It also helps in the transition between our shadows and our highlights. And, you know, texture adds more texture. I felt like under his booty needed a little bit more shadow. I don't know why I thought I could blend with my finger. You can't do that. So I used another Neocolor to help smooth that out and blend it. A few more highlight strokes with Sahara Yellow. This isn't white because white would be too stark, but the yellow blends super nice. So then I went a little highlight crazy. I was trying to add a lot more lightness back into the fur. You'll see in a second that this was a problem. And now we go in with the darker Neocolor to add that depth back in. I like how this color really gave more fur feel, if that makes sense. Like it really felt like that spiky wet fur on our bear. This is an even darker brown to go for those back legs, those inside legs that we can't really see really well. I want to make sure that we can see that perspective and how far away those are from us. I really didn't want our bear to have a mono leg. I'm pressing super light here, just touching things up, defining some shapes. Now here where I wanted a lot more color to lay down, I'm pressing really hard. I wanted to define that sort of ridge on his back, and I defined it a little bit too much. All you gotta do is go back in with those other colors that we used and softened it right up. This right here is a be proud of me moment. I wanted to go back in. I wanted to keep going. But at some point you do have to stop. It's time to add some final details. Some darker fur in the ears. Maybe too much dark fur in the ears. spent way too much time on the ears. We're just going to go back in with that burnt sienna and add a little bit more texture on the top. I just felt like it wasn't quite deep enough and you couldn't see as much of the fur on the bear's head. Time to go in with that first colored pencil we used just to bring it all together. And look at that, we did it. Together we created this cozy bear using lots of different mixed media techniques and really simple shapes. See you next time.